and welcome to the Knitting Game and Other Stuff. I'm Leslie, your host, and this is episode 36 for October 10th, 2012. It is the Columbus Day today. If you're not here in the States, and you may not know, Monday was one of our federal government holidays. Some people had it off, some people didn't. Teachers and stuff, depending on where they are, some had to work, but I had off, and it's in honor of Christopher Columbus, who everybody should know. I don't know. If you do, you do. But Christopher Columbus, discovery of America. But today is the 10th, and today is the actual day. In case you didn't know. So anyway. For those of you who are joining me for the first time, hi and welcome. And for those of you who are coming back, hi, welcome back. If you want to check out the show notes or links on how to get in touch with me, or links to the vendors and patterns that I feature on the shows, make sure you check out myordinaryjourney.com. It's all one word. That's also where you'll find how to vote for your choice of the knitting game. So, that being said, let's just keep on rolling. And I'd like to say thank you and welcome to our two newest members of the Knitting Game and Other Stuff Ravelry board. We have Knit Pearl Girl, and that is Carrie, so welcome. And 4 Peanuts, and that's Bean. So hi and welcome. We had 4, let me count them, 4 birthdays this week coming up. We have Lena Lark, and that's Linda. Born to Knit and Purl, Andrea. Stealth Dragon, Sam. And Knitter by Nature, that's Lakshmi. So happy birthday to you, and that's all you're gonna hear from me. All right. I want to say also a big thank you to one of our viewers, Wendy. She gifted me, I didn't print off the pattern, but it's the Vittorio Shawlette, and it is so pretty. I've had it on my queue. It's kind of reminiscent of a hitchhiker, but the points are the beginning of a chevron pattern. It's really kind of interesting, and it's in the same shape as the Color Affection. So it's like this very long, drawn out crescent shape with like the little pointy teeth of the hitchhiker and sideways chevron. So it's really interesting. So thank you very much, Wendy. I appreciate it. All right, and I don't have any question of the week this week. Usually I pull my questions from real life, and nothing like really spoke to me this week. I didn't have anything done on me. I've been kind of Tuesdays coming in after a Monday off, and then I had a 4-day weekend this weekend because I do flex time, so every other on payday I have off, so it's good. But I work the extra hours to get that day off. But anyway, after 4 days of being off and a fiber festival and a first Friday gallery opening and just a whole weekend of nothing but fiber and spinning, Tuesday I'm just really, my headspace is not with it. And then Wednesday, which is today, I'm a day behind. I'm thinking it's Tuesday, tomorrow's Thursday. And it's just kind of crazy. So I'm all out of sorts and all out of whack. So no question this week. I don't have any answers either because nobody's asked me a question. So if you have a question for me, if you'd like to know something about me, please visit the Ravelry group, and there's a sticky thread right there for things that you'd like to know about me, and I'd like to answer them. But before we get into the knitting game, I do want to give a special shout out. If you watch other podcasts, you may have already heard, but the Calendar of Hope. Oh, and I deleted her name off of the show notes. Anyway, it's October, and October is the month of breast cancer awareness. And one of the charities right now that is raising money, not just for research for how to combat breast cancer or how to keep women from getting breast cancer or how to cure it. It's to recruit healthy women so that way you can see over time changes. So let me read this to you. The Calendar of Hope 2013. All proceeds of the sale of these calendars, except PayPal fees, go to the www.armyofwomen.org, and their stated goals are to recruit 1 million healthy women of every age and ethnicity, including breast cancer survivors and women at high risk for the disease, to partner with breast cancer researchers and directly participate in the research that will eradicate breast cancer for once and all, to challenge the scientific community to expand its current focus to include breast cancer prevention research conducted on healthy women. So not only is it looking for a cure for the breast cancer, but a way to prevent it from happening in its entirety. So if you'd like a link, and I took a look at some of the patterns and they're pretty cute. So a lot of nice squares. So if you're gonna do like a survivor blanket, maybe something you should think about. It's very reasonably priced. I do have a link in my show notes to the Calendar of Hope 2013. All right, so now moving on to the knitting game portion of the show. All right, so if you're new to the knitting game, the way this all started is one day I was sitting here in my workroom and I was sitting here working on a sewing project, and I looked up and I saw all of my knitting books, which I love my pattern books. I just love them. But I hadn't actually used any pattern out of the book, and I thought, well, I like the idea of starting a podcast, but I don't want to do the same thing. So I wanted to make it a little bit different. I don't have a person to sit side by side with me. So I thought, you know what? Let me use these books, and what I'll do is I'll get everybody involved and have you guys vote for the patterns you'd like to see me knit. So what it is I pick one book about each month. I pick 4 to 5 patterns out of those books, and they're going to be very light patterns, so all scarves or all hats or something of that nature. And I put them head to head with each other, and each week I present 2 patterns. And obviously the first week it's going to be 2 new patterns, but as the rounds progress, I put the winner of the previous week's knitting game up against a new challenger. We do this until we work through the 4 or 5 patterns, or 5 or 6 patterns that I've picked, and the winner at the end of the final round for that particular knitting game is what I'll knit. All right, so that was a quick rundown. So right now we are finishing up round 3 and heading into the 4th and the final round of the weekend hats. Sorry, my chair is a little squeaky today. My weekend hats pattern book. So obviously it's going to be hats this time, which makes it really easy that it's a whole book of hats. Alrighty. So we have the Topiary Beanie by Jennifer Lang, and that was this week's challenger. And it went up against the Glasshoot Hat by Kate Gagnon Osborne, and that was the winner. And I believe so far this hat, the Glass House hat, has swept up until this point. That was the returning champion. And right now, when I close the voting, with 65% of the vote, the winner of round 3 Moving on to round 4 is the glass house hat. Okay, so everybody, this is almost a clean sweep of the hats. So this will be interesting if the next week's challenger can pull it out and dethrone the champion. So the final hat that I chose to go head to head up against the glass house hat, because I'm not going to say it in German because it's really bad when I try to, is, and I'm going to, I have no idea how to say this word. It's the Drift Toque. It's Toque. I'm not very good at pronunciation, as you can tell, and I'm very, very sorry for that, but that is what you get. So I'm just going to call it the Drift Hat by Jocelyn Tooney. And please, if somebody would correct my pronunciation, I have no problem with that, believe me. Okay, so the Drift Hat, to go along with our glass house hat. Some, I guess, really quick tail of the tape specifications for this knit. It requires a yarn weight, a DK weight yarn. It's knit on size US 4 or 3.5 millimeter needles, and it takes about 152 yards, which is awesome. I have tons of DK that I hardly ever use. I don't know why. I do know why. When I first started knitting and I didn't know the difference in yarn, I just ordered what I thought was yarn for socks, fingering weight yarn. I thought it was sock yarn, but then I realized, oh, it's DK, it's stuff. Oh, well. So I've never used it, and it's sitting in my stash. So I have some of that. And then we've got the glass house hat. It requires a fingering weight yarn. It is knit on size 2 and size 4, which is 2.75 millimeter and 3.5 millimeter needles, respectively. And that takes about 318 yards. So that's going to be almost, depending on what yarn you use or who you purchase it from, a pretty good hank of yarn. So voting for the 4th and final round of the weekend hat knitting game will close next week, October 17th at 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time, whenever I get around to recording. I'm trying to record a little bit earlier this week because my husband started a new job and he's not home, and I'm hoping to get it in before he gets home, and maybe I can even hit the gym today. We'll see. Alright, so an update from some of the other previously voted on knitted game projects. Again, no touching the Sayuri sweater, and I'll get to that in a second. And then the 100th Easy 100th Anniversary Camping Half Circle Shop. Last week I showed you my dye job. This was, I wanted a red yarn for this particular knit. So this was the sample that I dyed from this gray yarn, and I decided it was a little bit too bright and I wanted it a little bit darker. So I picked up this darker gray from Knit Picks, and it just came the other day. I haven't had a chance to dye it, but hopefully you can see the difference between the two. I'm planning on using the same recipe that I did in this yarn, which is a 2-to-1 ratio of cherry to orange Kool-Aid. Yes. And it still smells wonderful like cherry Kool-Aid. I'm just hoping, I don't know if you guys know much about color theory, but if you mix complementary colors on the color wheel, which orange and blue are, you get brown. So I'm hoping the blue tones, kind of like the undertones in this gray, when it mixes with the orange, isn't going to do of brown. Likewise, I'm hoping the red in the cherry with the blue doesn't do a purple, because we could come out with some really funky stuff. So I'm gonna have to do another little sample before I get to really cooking. And as you can probably see, I have a crock pot sitting here in the background. That's because I'm gonna use a crock pot to do the yarn. I think that'll be fun. Okay, so that is the knitting game for this week. Remember, it's the drift hat. I'm not going to say the word. It begins with a T. I'm horrible. And the glass house hat. Again, it's German. I'm not going to try to pronounce it because you guys deserve better. Alrighty, so on to the other stuff. There's a certain place that may have frozen over because I actually have a finished object to share. I don't remember the last time I had a finished object to share with everybody, but happy day. It is a day for finished objects. So my Steelers socks are done. Yay! All right. So a little bit of note about these socks. I knit them toe up. This is Fiber Nymph's Bumblebee colorway on her bounce base. So I did toe up. I did an afterthought heel. After the afterthought heel, I went right into 2x2 ribbing. As you can see, this afterthought heel is a little interesting in that I only had one strip of yellow because they didn't start in the same place. If you notice, this one started with black, this one started with yellow. I think the stripe placement on this one was a little bit better than here, but there's nothing I really could do about it. It's just, it is where it is. So these are a Christmas present for my kickbox trainer. So hopefully she doesn't watch the show because I just ruined her Christmas present for her. I don't think she does, so, but yay, I have a finished object. And these were knit, I don't know what these, I knit them, okay, this is the other thing. I started off, I think, on size 2s or 1.5s on these and went down to either a 1.5 or a 1. And these I knit completely on the smaller needle. So the foot on this one is a little snugger than the foot on this one because I changed probably right here between this black and yellow stripe. You can see where it kind of dents in a little bit. But that's okay because they're done. And I'm happy because they're done. Alrighty, so I have a work in progress. So I have 3 works in progress, really. I have my Color Affection shawl, I have my 10 and 2010 shawl, and I have the Sayuri sweater. Last week I said I can have as many projects as I want on the needles, but I'm only going to get to work on 2 of them at a time. One of them needs to be one of the knitting game projects. So what I'm planning on doing is, while I'm dyeing up the yarn for my camping shawl, I'm going to finish the Color Affection and try to knock out the 10 and 2010 shawl because I'm probably about 65-75% finished with that one too. So once I get those 2 shawls off my plate, I'll be able to start knitting on the camping shawl, which is a Christmas gift, so it's kind of double duty. And then I will be able to pick back up on the Sayuri sweater. So that is the plan. So last week I didn't show you the Color Affection because I was in the middle of the short row section, which required 3 balls of yarn and color work, and it was just a hot mess with all of the different strands and everything. This week I am down to just the single color. I am working on the band, the final edge, outside edge. I'm in the middle of a round right now, so I can't spread it out. Not like you guys would get a really great indication anyway of how it looks when it's spread out. So this is about the best you're gonna do right here. So you can see I have about an inch, a little bit more than an inch of the outside edge done. I need to get to 2 inches is what the pattern calls for. I'm hoping I have just ever so, it's going to be close with the yarn. I didn't want to have to break out the second ball of green, but I might have to. So it is what it is. I'm using Knit Picks palette in the Autumn Heather, Marine Heather, and Aurora Heather colorways, and I am knitting them on size 6 ChiaoGoo red lace needles. So that is my work in progress right now, and it's coming along great. I usually only work on the color affection on the weekend, and I was trying to get in a single repeat on Sundays, and it's been working fine. So this has been my Sunday knitting, but now that I'm done with the socks, I picked that up for in the week, so that's where I'm going with that. Now stash expansions, like I said, I picked up, this is the Knit Pick gloss, and it's in the Hawk colorway. So it's a nice, not charcoaly gray, but kind of ash gray. So there's just hints of blue and maybe a little brown in there already. So I'm hoping that my colors will go good. Don't you think that these colors would make an awesome color affection? I think that would look really, really spiffy. So, anyway. Not only am I told a fib. I forgot to write down another project I was knitting on, but it's not constant knitting. What I did is I totally stole the idea from Dana from the Just One More Row podcast. She was taking her leftover sock yarn bits and knitting them into a scarf, and that's exactly what I'm doing too. So you probably recognize the bumblebee colorway here at the bottom, and then I've got some of the patent Croy sock here right above it, and I have some other sock yarn bits that I hope to add as I go along. So that is the plan, and that's just for whenever I don't have something major going or I'm running around out and about, because that's not quite as big as the color affection, and it's about, you know, sock size is pretty portable. All right, so my big yarn acquisition this week, and I'm so happy I picked it up. I have been looking at this yarn for the longest time, and I finally pulled the trigger this week. I picked up the Into the World. This is the Abercrombie colorway, and it is on her deli base, which is 80-10-10. Yes, 80-10-10 superwash merino, cashmere, and nylon. It is a DK weight yarn. It's 100 grams and approximately 230 yards. And it is the softest thing. Oh my goodness. I already have the hat picked out for it. I'm going to knit a Jared Flood hat out of this, and I just got the craziest feeling of deja vu. Like, I have talked about this before, but I know I haven't. But that is the plan for this. So I'm going to knit me a hat, a Jared Flood hat. I think it's called Koalas, I think is the name of the pattern. I'll have it in the show notes, and it's very architectural, and it does require cables, and it's like these swirling, corkscrewing, superimposed, reversed cable. Oh, it's just, I love it. I love it. So, and I think this will lend itself very nicely to that knit. So, oh, I love it. It's got like maroon and then pink, and then it goes into this yellow, and then the chartreuse kind of green, and then this light aqua, and then this like beautiful teal color, and it's just breathtaking, and it's as soft as anything. So some of you may have the fiber done in this colorway, and let me tell you, when I go to a show where Into the World is vending, I will make sure I stock up, because I have not gone wrong yet on anything that I've purchased from Into the World. It's just awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, so that is my knitting. On to my spinning. I still have my Falkland on the jumbo bobbin. I haven't wound it off. I've been busy because I had some things to do this weekend. But I'm almost there with my wool gatherings merino. I'm very, very close to being done. And I had thought that I was going to leave this in a single, and then I think I'm changing my mind, and I'm going to try to Navajo ply this and be very, very methodical and cognizant of what I'm doing to do a good job, because there are some little, if you can imagine, there are some thinner spots than that. I mean, I got it thin, and I'm a little worried about it breaking. But I spun this up while I was at the Fiber Festival, and if you can't, I don't understand what happened, but when I first got out there, I was terrified. I could not believe how much my hands were shaking and how nervous I was. And I do this every week. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm looking at a camera instead of hundreds of people like staring at my technique. I didn't want anything to go wrong. So I have to finish that up. I have maybe a half an ounce left. Maybe a quarter of an ounce. I mean, it's just this little strip. I'll have it done tonight. So that is the spinning that I did this week. Now I do have some stash expansions. This past weekend, Saturday and Sunday, was the Virginia Fall Fiber Festival in Montpelier. And one of the vendors in particular that I wanted to go and purchase from was Wild Hair Fiber Studio, and she didn't disappoint. I was pleasantly surprised because she had some of the most amazing colorways. So what I picked up is, and if you can believe it, I love it. This is faux cashmere, and I've already talked about her faux cashmere before. This is a completely synthetic fiber. It's 100% nylon, but you would never ever know it. It feels and it spins exactly like cashmere. So this green, oh, this is hilarious. This green is Teal We Meet Again. $16, by the way, for a 4-ounce braid. So Teal We Meet Again. And then this is Friend or Faux, F-A-U-X. And this one is, oh, just Spitfire Poison Acid Purple. It's great. And I'm thinking of spinning these as singles and then plying them together. I don't know. We'll see. And then the third one I picked up was Sugar Maple, and it's these oranges and browns and really deep, wonderful reds. And I cannot wait to spin these up. I have a black and white braid that I have left, but that was one of those things that I really wanted to score. And that's all I picked up, if you can believe it. That's all I really wanted, and that's all I picked up. I went to a fiber festival, and I did not buy any inable fiber. I know, it's kind of odd. The other thing that I've been working on this weekend was some more sewing. So I whipped up this project bag. Took me 2 hours the other night, fully aligned. I even have a little tag. See? I have my own tags. So I put that in there, but I'm using this one for my color affection. Definitely some improvements I still want to make on the design. I'm still tweaking it, but I think it's coming along, and it just takes practice, 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 and that's what I'm going to do. So the last thing that I have for this week is I have one more event coming up. This weekend is the Fredericksburg Spinners and Weavers Guild. second annual Let's Stitch event. It is a charity knit together that we hold at our Guild studio space at the Liberty Town Arts Workshop from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. If you are in the area and you want to either donate some yarn, needles, patterns, you want to come and hang out. If you don't know how to knit and you want to learn, there'll be volunteers there to help teach as well. So the knitted items will be going to local charity organizations to help the homeless and the disadvantaged, to include school children here in the local Fredericksburg area and battered women shelters as well. So everything goes to a great cause, and it's you can be as creative or as I don't know, fast as you need to be. If you want to knock out a whole bunch of scarves and bring those down. And that's the other thing. If you start a project at Let's Stitch, it doesn't have to be finished on Saturday. You can take it home, work on it, bring it back, and that's fine. We take donations of yarn all throughout the year, as well as the knit items, crocheted items, or woven items that you all produce. So that's all I have for this week. It seems a little vanilla to me. I don't know. I guess I am very excited about my fiber. Oh, my fiber. My personal trainer always thinks that I'm getting ready to go learn about protein and fiber and nutrition when I tell him I'm going to a fiber festival. He thinks it's funny now. So that's all I have for this week. Don't forget, it is the fourth and final round. Voting for this final round will close on October 17th. So I guess that's all I have for now, and until next week, thank you for joining me, and don't forget to play the game. Bye.